Hello there, I'm Dr. Joel Hunter, and today we are going to be talking about Moore's lightning. This was sent in by Facebook user Laura Mowell. I don't know if it's a Mowell as in vowel or mole as in bowl or Joel, but she sent in this question about what is Moore's lightning. And I want to confess, I have never heard of Moore's lightning before, but then I looked it up and found out it's something that we deal with all the time in ophthalmology. I just never knew that Moore had made this his eponymous creation of his own. So this is really, really, really common. And first we're going to describe it, and then we're going to talk about what causes it. So everyone's had the experience, or at least has heard of the experience, I would imagine, of being in a very, very dark area, and then you see this little flash of light to the point that you look and try to see, that was my acting, you look and try to see what caused that flash of light. And that is a common feature to most eyeballs. It's the reason why I was surprised that it had a name. But apparently a man named Moore, Mr. Jor Moore, named it after himself and said, "This is my lightning." And so Moore's lightning is the phenomenon of noticing something out here in the periphery of your vision in the middle of the night. So what we typically call that is flashes. We typically call that flashes of light. It's really common to ask somebody if they've had any flashes or floaters when we're doing an exam because it leads us to look to other things. But what causes those flashes of light? Well, I'm going to draw an eyeball and stand inside it like we normally do, and then we'll figure it out. Now, in fairness, the iris isn't usually lifted this far off of the lens, but here are the parts of our eye. We have all the stuff in the front of the eye, and normally we go through and label it all, but for our purposes today, we can just call it what we normally call it in ophthalmology. We just shorten this into the anterior segment. And so when you have these flashes of light, when you have Moore's lightning, it's not so much anything to do with the anterior segment. It is instead and you may have guessed this, posterior segment. And we've talked before about how the inside of the eye is filled with this stuff called vitreous. And the vitreous is interesting because up here in the front of the eye, there's this water, this aqueous, and you have new aqueous inside your eye about every 90 minutes. It's just constantly being produced back here, filtering around, draining out in the front. But the vitreous that you are born with is the vitreous that you have for life. It stays the same the whole time. And it makes up about 80% of the volume of the globe of your eye. Now the vitreous itself, though, is not just this free-floating gel. It actually has a container to it, a hyaloid face surrounding it. And the reason that matters is because that plugs into your retina. It sits right up against it. So this is called the anterior hyaloid face, and it is a part of the body of it. It's kind of like a jellyfish. If you see a jellyfish on the beach, it's kind of sad, but it's not made of jelly that just oozes out evenly onto the beach. It's different than if you poured syrup out on the beach, or jelly for that matter. It's got a body to it. You know, you can poke it. You can actually break through the outer layer of it, which I found out when I was a kid, and it really freaked me out. It was curiosity gone too far. And so with the outer layer of a jellyfish, it's because there is actually a structurized epithelium to it. And with this, there's this structurized collagen membrane that holds all of your vitreous together. Now, why am I talking so much about that? Good question. It's because that membrane, that hyaloid face, actually plugs into your retina a little bit more strongly in some areas than others. It does it specifically at 4 places specifically, and that is here, the optic nerve, here, at some of the larger blood vessels inside the eye, which is also what I was trying to draw here. This X marks the spot here, the macula, and then up here at the ora serrata. Now the ora serrata is where your retina stops. And so your retina wraps all the way around the globe of your eye, all the way, it's like the wallpaper in your eye. And the anterior hyaloid face plugs in a little bit more strongly there. It's the vitreous base. It's where it kind of is anchored. And so that is why Moore's lightning exists. It's not because of any of these, it's because of this. And the reason that you notice it with this, and the reason that you notice it out here in the periphery, is because if you look at the wallpaper of your retina, it goes a little bit farther forward towards the front of your eye on the nose side of the retina. It does not go quite as far forward on the temporal side by your ear. And so because it goes farther forward on the nose side, when you have vitreous, it's tugging around where it holds on the strongest, which is here, and it does it specifically, in that nose side of things, you'll see that little flash of light in the periphery because everything on your retina is upside down and backwards. So if you stimulate the retina on the nose side, you'll see it out here. Almost never does somebody see that stuff on the nose side of things. They don't see lightning flashes where it's like in here. And the reason is your retina doesn't go forward quite as far on that ear side. So because this is a little bit more tightly adherent, and because as the vitreous gel moves around inside your eye, you can see that stuff because when it tugs on the retina, it causes that flash of light. It causes Moore's lightning. And today I learned something too, which is that is called Moore's lightning. Before we had always just called it flashes, including in textbooks. I hope you learned something. Thanks for listening.